What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you're here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Happy Wednesday morning to you, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, whatever you got going on in your life. I hope it's good for you. So, guys, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you had a great start to your week, and things are going in your favor on this beautiful, hopefully beautiful hump day, wherever you're at. So, guys, I appreciate you joining me this morning. As always, I try to bring you things that are relevant, that I'm going through, that I'm dealing with, that I've learned from, anything like that, that I believe and feel that would provide value to someone somewhere that might be listening to this. There's going to be times, there's going to be topics that I cover that are going to be more or less relevant to you or to others around you. But nonetheless, just like anything else that we consume out there, not everything is for everyone. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that, we're trying to do our best, that I'm trying to do my best to provide as much, value and I guess guidance as I possibly can for people. Because my hope, is that one day, people are going to be able to look back on this. I'm going to be able to look back on it, whatever it is, and say, man, like that was a cool journey that we got to go on with Daniel, or that I got to go on with myself, or whatever it was. I put out a lot of, hopefully a lot of nuggets or a lot of just little tips or tricks or things to make you think a little harder than you normally would. I know I've talked about it a good bit over the last, 72 episodes. Gosh, it's crazy to think that we're that far along, but I am wanting to start, kind of looking at getting some other people on here, because I know typically my shows are only about, anywhere from like 8 to 12 minutes on average, about 10 minutes, podcast, 10-minute videos. I try to keep them bite-sized, but it has been something that I've really been trying to put some thought in on, like how and who would we want to integrate into this? What type of people would you guys want to listen to? What type of stories would you want to hear? What things are you trying to learn and trying to go through? Whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whether you own a business, whether you work in a business, whatever it may be, I want to make sure that whatever we're putting out is going to be with the ultimate goal of providing the most value for you. Granted, that audience, is going to change and develop over time, but, more or less, I'm doing this for you guys. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. The conversations I get to have, the feedback I've received from individuals on it is what keeps me going with, for you guys. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback I've gotten so far from you guys, and I always welcome more of it. As always, the one little ask that I would put out is to either, like, comment, share, whatever it may be, to just help us, get the message out a little bit more. I don't know what it's been, but the statistics and the data has shown that there's been an increase in, viewers and downloads and things like that over the last couple of weeks. Not sure what happened or why it hit it, but we're getting it out there. So it's with you guys' help. So, but anyways, enough of all that nonsense. I want to get into the topic today. As you see on the title, ideas are equal useless, actions equal priceless. This topic came to me because a buddy of mine texted me recently about talking about this topic. Truthfully, the ideas are really just kind of useless in your brain until you actually put them into actions. And I got to thinking about that. Ideas, you could have $1 million idea. There's stories all the time out there of people who they thought of the, fill in the blank, the Facebook, the Google, the Amazon, whatever it is. They had that idea. Bezos stole my idea, Zuck stole my idea, whatever it is. Well, if they didn't put it into action, that idea is absolutely worthless. There is zero value to an idea that someone sits and holds on to in their brain. Or beyond that, there's zero value to an idea somebody just sits and talks about. So if you're sitting on the front porch with your buddies drinking beer every night, talking about all the great ideas you have, well, I hate to break it to you, those are absolutely freaking useless unless you're willing to do something about them. So unless you are, my advice to you would be to just let the ideas roll and keep on carrying on, because that's the direction you're going to go anyways, right? So I wanted to, in the vein of that, of turning ideas into actions. It can be tough. It can be scary. It can be feels like a monumental task, depending on what your idea is, what kind of actions would have to be taken place to implement it. But nonetheless, if you're wanting to turn ideas into actions, I've got a couple steps that I want to share with you on kind of how to do that. The first one would be along the lines of setting goals and getting a plan put in place. I've talked about it before about that. If you want to get to, if you want to get to where you're going, you got to know where that end is, right? You're not going to get in a car and just turn it on and start driving down a road if you have no idea where you're heading to, unless you're one of those weird people who just let the road, see where the road takes you. That don't work in life. Okay. So you have to kind of have the end in mind. You've got to have clear goals that you want to try and accomplish with this idea, how it will look when it's done, so on and so forth. From there, you kind of re-engineer it and you get a plan put together. So what are the steps that I have to take to actually get this idea into fruition and like get the end result that I'm trying to achieve? And after that, all the tasks that you come up with and the steps that you have to take to put it in place, you have to prioritize what's most important. You have to build the foundation. So you have to start with foundational level tasks of your idea to help start getting them into place. One of those things could be something along the lines of, if you want to start a business. Okay, that's a great idea to start a business. Well, what do you want it to do? Well, we want to do house painting. Okay, so you have the end goal. We want to start a business that provides house painting services. Great. What are some of the tasks? Some of those may be, well, we need to figure out how we're going to market. We need to figure out what our pricing is going to be. We need to figure out a website. We need to figure out a company name and a logo and things like that. Fantastic. But you have to prioritize all those tasks. Because if you start working on how you're going to charge for painting a house, but you don't have a company name yet, well, your pricing doesn't matter, quite frankly. You have to get the name first. Then you get a logo figured out. Then you figure out who you want to market to. Then you figure out how you're going to price it to them and what you can sell it for, so on and so forth. So you see how you can have all the tasks, but you have to make sure you have a prioritization in place to make sure you're doing it in the proper order. You have to build the foundation, build one step in front of another. After that, once you get all that kind of figured out, you have your goal, your plan, and the prioritization on what those, the plan is to execute those things. You have to then make sure that you have accountability and execution in place to make sure that they get done. So you set deadlines, you set time frames, you set things in place to make sure that you keep yourself and others on your team accountable for getting those things accomplished. So when you have those due dates, like I'm guilty of it all the time. If I don't set a due date for something, chances are I'm going to forget about it and it's going to slip through the cracks. So, in our system that we use in our company, we always have due dates for things because now it's starting to become a habit of mine that I make sure to check my schedule. What are the things that are due that I need to get accomplished today? What are the things that are coming up so I can make sure I'm adequately preparing and working towards achieving those, accomplishing those tasks? So you got to hold yourself accountable. You've got to hold others accountable who are on your team for implementing these things. And you have to make sure that the actions you're taking are consistent. You have to, if you don't stay in the game, if you don't keep making reps and keep chipping away at getting that list done, the prioritized tasks to get to your goal, then you're just going to lose momentum. You're going to lose steam and it's not going to go anywhere. And then the last thing that you want to do as you start getting these things done is you want to make sure that you're like evaluating and adapting to the things that you're finding. Right? If you got your house painting name in place and you got your logo in place and you got your, I want to sell to commercial properties for painting their buildings and things like that. But then you realize like, man, like I don't really like dealing with commercial properties, or I don't really like how the bidding process works. Well, then you may need to adapt and say, hey, let's restructure this. Maybe we like working with homeowners better. Maybe we like working with, new construction better. I don't know, whatever it may be. But you're going to have to continue to adapt. You're going to have to see what kind of feedback you get from the things that you're getting done. You're going to have to see where you're failing, where you're succeeding. If you're failing at places, figure out, can we fix this or do we need to redirect our course? And then if we're doing good at things, figure out how you're doing good, what you're succeeding at, do more of those things. And then as you continue to do these things and you continue to climb this ladder and climb this progress of turning your ideas into actions, you need to see when you're achieving successes and embrace those. Make sure that you're giving yourself that kind of reward, that feeling of, hey, we're doing something. We're making something happen. I'm taking steps into turn this useless idea, because it was just sitting here in this little like cesspool of just ideas where they go to die. And I'm taking action. I'm making something happen here. So be proud of that. Make sure you take account of that and don't take it lightly, because more people than not have so many ideas, thousands, millions of ideas that literally just sit in this like cesspool of ideas and no one ever does anything with them. until someone does. And all those people say, well, I thought of Amazon. Well, I thought of Facebook. Well, I thought of Google. I thought of these things. Well, that's fine. But as you were thinking about it, somebody else was doing it. I've seen the quote before that says, don't be upset when you're interrupted on, dreaming about your dreams by someone who's achieving theirs. So don't get upset if you have these dreams and these ideas of things that you want to accomplish, and then you see somebody else achieving all theirs, because they're the ones who chose to take action. They're the ones who chose to do something with those ideas that were in their heads, that was in their brains and their minds and their dreams and goals, to make sure something was actually going to take place. So guys, like I said, the big three things is making sure you're setting the goals and setting a plan in place of where you're trying to get to with your idea, that you set something in line for accountability, setting schedules, dates, expectations, holding yourself and others accountable who are on board with you, and then making sure that you're looking at the feedback, adapting to the failures, the successes, so on and so forth, and you're learning from everything as you go. That's the biggest thing right there, is make sure you learn from it as you're implementing your ideas into actions, and you're going to create something better than you probably ever dreamed of. Because like I said earlier, most people will never take the actual step to put the idea into action. So to my buddy who texted me about this recently, I appreciate the inspiration on the topic. It's been something that has been super relevant to us here at work this year, because we have been just continuing to evolve and to grow and develop everything we do as a company. And I can't tell you how many ideas we talk about. We have our weekly leadership meetings where we talk about ideas. We've recently started doing weekly sales meetings or biweekly sales meetings where we're talking about ideas. We have, one-on-one conversations where we talk about ideas. And I will say I'm blessed to have a team that does fantastic at taking these ideas we talk about and implement them. Because I can tell you right now, if I was responsible for implementing all the ideas we discussed, we wouldn't get anything done, because that's not my forte. But having a team of being willing to implement the ideas, putting them into action, and so we can test and tune them. And like I said, learn from the process, learn from what we're getting, the failures, the successes, and continue to evaluate and evolve. That's the only option. That's the only way to turn those actions into priceless things that we can continue to do and grow with. So guys, like I said at the beginning of this show, I hope this is beneficial for somebody somewhere doing something that has something to do with any of this. I really do appreciate you guys. Like I said, our views and our listeners are continuing to grow and evolve, and it's all because you guys are helping contribute to it. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'm continuing to enjoy this. I'm continuing to see where this thing takes us and what all we can accomplish together. So guys, I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday. And as always, let me know if you need anything.